Hello everyone. We are very fresh after today's UAP hearing, which took place in Washington DC at 10 a.m. local time and was titled Restoring Public Trust Through UAP Transparency and Whistleblower Protection. We knew beforehand that there are going to be 4 witnesses, but there was the last-minute revelation of a 5th witness. Among those, the probably best-known name was that of George Knapp, the veteran journalist who brought forth the famous Bob Lazar, who claims to have worked at Area 51 and with non-human craft to the world's attention. He also bought secret KGB documents in Russia in 1993 and brought those over to the West, revealing the involvement of UFOs with Soviet nuclear assets. Next, we had Jeffrey Nucitelli, who is a veteran military police officer and is probably best known for his report of the 2003 UFO incident over Vandenberg Air Force Base, which was one of a series of UFO incidents observed there between 2003 and 2005. One of the observed objects was a giant football field-sized red square UAP. There were also sightings of objects with instantaneous acceleration and violating the rules of craft inertia as we know them. Alexandra Wiggins is a US Navy senior chief petty officer who was a witness to a UAP incident in February 2023 on board USS Jackson. He witnessed a tic-tac-shaped object emerging from the ocean and joined by 3 similar objects, all 4 of which then departed with instantaneous acceleration. Those were detected using multiple sensor systems and the video was recorded as well. Dylan Borland is a US Army and intelligence veteran who has also worked for military contractors and was stationed at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia as part of his active duty. He was exposed to classified information related to the fabled Legacy program involving recovery and reverse engineering of UFO craft in undisclosed special access programs. He also saw a triangular craft flying from near a NASA hangar in 2012, and the UAP moved soundlessly with great acceleration and speed. And finally, we had Joe Spielberger, the last-minute witness, who is a senior policy counsel in the project of government oversight and who wanted to stress the importance of whistleblower protection mechanisms. This importance comes off the back of statements from Congresswoman Luna chairing the hearing, who a few days ago mentioned David Grush, the legendary whistleblower from the 2023 UAP hearing, being threatened with lethal weapons in his capacity as a staffer of a sitting congressman. In her opening statement, Chairwoman Luna stressed the importance of the topic as such and of studying in its importance from the point of view of national security, science, humanity at large, as well as the importance of those willing to testify. She also outright roasted Dr. Kirkpatrick, the former director of ARROW, the All-Domain Resolution Office, which was supposed to study the phenomenon but massively failed to do so under his lead. Representative and the ranking member Crockett followed with her own statement. She echoed the statement of national security, especially that most of UAPs or UFOs are indeed man-made objects, which could come from adversarial nations. The hearing began with opening statements from the witness, the full text of which they wanted to present and testify to today, and all these statements can be found in the links below. George Knapp mentioned a massive submission for the congressional record, which would take 4.5 hours if he wanted to read it aloud. It would be interesting to see this material in full, and if I manage to read through that in the coming days, I will post an update on that. He mentioned that Russians, as early as the Soviet times, tried to recreate a UFO with full capabilities. After these statements, we saw a tic-tac video recorded by the service group of Chief Wiggins I mentioned before, recorded in infrared spectrum. Mr. Borland reported seeing a giant white light which transformed into a giant triangular craft. The craft was an equilateral triangle which was deep black in color, with what was effectively plasma running all over it. As the craft took off with a tremendous speed, Mr. Borland felt electricity on his skin and the smell of ozone. He also mentioned facing extreme repercussions and retribution taken on him by certain elements as a result of his reports and contact with the unknown. Alex Wiggins mentioned his ontological shock when he saw the Tic Tac craft, but could not specify what the object actually was, according to his statement, whether it was a military craft or something completely else. Mr. Nuzzatelli mentioned reporting his sighting up the chain of command and mentioned that he experienced an ontological shock, as well as how transformative the experience was as a whole. Mr. Borland mentioned that he knows what the craft he saw was, and its nature can be gleaned into in a classified setting, and that Arrow also knows the answer to this incident. He also mentioned that him misspeaking could result in a potential death penalty on the grounds of espionage. The witnesses, including George Knapp, also added that the UFOs are possibly partially a psyop, and some information about them is purposefully planted by the governments around the world to muddy the waters. Knapp reported his story, already known in the UFO circles, of how he managed to smuggle secret Soviet documentation out of Russia in the early 1990s. A lot of that documentation has apparently been filled with the Congress now. One of the hits of the hearing, pun intended, was a video presented by Representative Eric Burleson. It showed a UFO being hit by a Hellfire missile head-on, and the impact had no effect on the object whatsoever. The witnesses were almost invariably scared by this video. Mr. Borland said he could provide some explanation regarding the video in a classified setting. I will also provide this video later tonight. Now let us have the consequences sink in for a moment. And speaking of the bizarre, Mr. Nuzzatelli mentioned that the red square UFO he mentioned before was not even the largest object the military personnel saw at the Vandenberg AFB, and that there were objects as large as they could be dubbed flying buildings. The representatives were interested in what the legal basis is for withdrawing knowledge from them and who the gatekeepers of the UAP secret programs were. The name of James Ryder from Lockheed Martin was mentioned as one of the persons, and that the people gatekeeping the information are ordered to do so. Glenn Gaffney, representing CIA, was also mentioned as one of the key names behind the hiding of all the information about UFOs. When asked about the long game of the misinformation and the cover-up, George Knapp said that basically the whole idea failed anyway, because the truth is now in the open, there is too much evidence and the game is up. He also mentioned that among all the Russian documents submitted to the Congress, only about 1% were available publicly before. There was one big organization divided into 3 programs in the Soviet Union during the former communist times. Next, we saw one more video of an object moving similar to the Go Fast video from 2017 at a linear but also somewhat strange trajectory, at least to me, and it was able to take in a hit by a Hellfire missile and could alter its trajectory, possibly splitting itself. I have linked this video in a separate video today. Chief Wiggins told the story of his sighting, that the object was first recorded on the radar in quite some distance from the ship. To the best of his knowledge and abilities, the object came out from the water and then moved airborne. It also accelerated to somewhere in the 1 to 2 Mach range in almost an instant. At the end of the day, we reached and heard the conclusions that quite likely nobody knows what the objects actually are and where they come from. That is just a very quick recap of the more important points I have caught, and you can watch the entire hearing via the link I provided in the comment section down below. It was definitely an interesting one. I think it was the best one since the 2023 UAP hearing, in my opinion at least. That's all for today. There is going to be a fair lot more to digest over the coming days, and I will keep you updated on that. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I will see you soon in the next one. Take care.